the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it. They told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie. I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like Toby, keep on running toes. They gon' take a few to lose. Built the win. Applied myself. I felt it in. No time for the doubt. They counted me out. I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss. I pay for the cost. I'm winning to win. Yeah. Refuse to lose. I built the win. Applied myself. I felt it in. No time for the doubt. They counted me out. I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss. I'm paying the cost. I'm in it to win. Yeah. Refuse.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back for another episode. Today we got 10 games on this Valentine's Day big slate Saturday to go over. Now, this week, it was ugly for your boy. It was ugly. North Carolina lost the wire game to Miami University. Arizona lost to Kansas, even with no Darren Peterson. Wisconsin came back down 11 to force OT and win against Illinois for the first time ever in overtime. So it was just bad beats after bad beats. I can't remember the last game I picked where the team I picked lost, but we went 1-4 this week. It was just ugly. So hopefully we can turn it around this Saturday, turn this record around. We still are above 500 though, so I am cool with that. But without further ado, let's just hop into it. And the first game we got for y'all is Clemson, 20th ranked Clemson, who did suffer a loss to Virginia Tech this week, will take on the 4th ranked Blue Devils, who did beat Pitt earlier this week. This game is 12 o'clock on ESPN. Duke is 13.5 point favorites at home. Patrick Nwamba is available. He did not play against Pitt. I want to say Tuesday. He did not play against Pitt, but he is available today. But for Clemson, they're led by Dylan Hunter, averaging 7.8 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. Carter Welling, averaging 10.4 points per game and 5.7 rebounds. And Justin Porter, averaging 10.3 points per game, 1.3 steals. Their X factor to me is going to be R.J. Godfrey, especially with Nwamba being available, going against Nwamba, Boozer, Malik Brown. They're going against that bevy of bigs that Duke has. R.J. Godfrey is going to be huge, as well as Nick Davidson and Carter Welling. But he's my X factor facing the bigs that Duke has. While Duke, they're led by Cam Boozer, averaging 23 points per game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1.8 steals. Isaiah Evans averaging 14.3 points per game. Caleb Foster averaging 9 points per game and 3.7 rebounds per game. Their X factor for me for Duke is going to be Malik Brown because, again, Clemson has bigs as well. So his production, his ability to stay out of foul trouble with Nwamba sometimes can be in foul trouble is going to be huge because, like I said, Clemson has 3 very good bigs. They have R.J. Godfrey, Carter Welling, and Nick Davidson. So Malik Brown, his activity, his defensive ability, and his ability to stay out of foul trouble is going to be big for Duke. But my ultimate winner is Duke. Duke at home is tough to beat. Now, Clemson is a really good ball club. I do think 13.5 points is a lot of points for Duke to cover against a really good Clemson team. But I do have Duke winning because Cam Boozer is going to be tough for the Tigers to defend. Then you have Isaiah Evans, who's a knockdown shooter. Caleb Foster can get to the rim. Nwamba being back is big. Dame Sarr is a nice little piece for Duke. I just think Duke might have a little bit too much for the Clemson Tigers, but I don't know if Duke covers that 13.5. I can't lie. But I do have Duke winning the ball game. We'll move on to Kansas at Iowa State. Now, shout out to Ruben Roman. What's up? How you doing this morning? Kansas beat Iowa State and Kansas by double digits earlier in the year. It was last month, actually. And the funny thing is, Iowa State lost both games that week. They had a bad week, and then they ran off another win streak. Now, Iowa State just lost to TCU on the road Tuesday. Now they have to play Kansas. Now, if Kansas wins, then Iowa State will have 2 weeks out of the entire college basketball year where they had 2 losses or Iowa State can turn the I'm gonna say super mini trend around and beat Kansas this week. Well, who knows? But we'll start with Kansas. They're led by Darren Peterson, who last game against Arizona was a last minute scratch due to flu-like symptoms, did not play, but he should be a go today. He's averaging 20.5 points per game, 4.2 rebounds, and 1.3 steals. Floyd Badunga, who had a monster game against Arizona, he's averaging 14.9 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, and 2.9 blocks per game. And Melvin Council averaging 14.1 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, and 5.1 assists. Now, my X factor is going to be Trey White. I do think Trey White is going to have to supply some scoring. He's averaging 14.2 points per game against the ball pressure that Iowa State can have against ball clubs. Iowa State does a good job of pressing the ball handlers, so I think Trey White's going to be big in this one for them. Now, Iowa State, who's 7.5 point favorites now. They were 6.5 point favorites at the time I wrote up my banners, but now they're actually 7.5 point favorites. Iowa State's led by Tamin Lepsey, the point guard who he's another floor general who's averaging 13.3 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 5.4 assists, and 2.2 steals per game. Joshua Jefferson averaging 17 points per game, 7.7 rebounds per game, 5.3 assists, and 1.5 steals. And Milan Milosevic, who's averaging 18.4 points per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Killian Torrey, the freshman. He's terrific on ball. He's a terrific on ball defender. And his ball pressure to me is going to be really big in this matchup for guys like Darren Peterson, for guys like Trey White, for guys like Melvin Council, especially guys like Melvin Council who wants to get to the rim. I think his on-ball pressure is going to be huge, and that's why he's my X factor today. He's averaging 1.8 steals per game as well. But my winner, I think Iowa State gets revenge, but I do think Kansas keeps it close. I think Iowa State gets revenge. I got a bet in right now, Kansas plus 7.5. So, and that's what it's currently at. So 7.5 point favorite, meaning dogs. I do think Iowa State is really good defensively. I just think Iowa State at times they struggle scoring at times. Can they heat up? Yes. But can they also struggle? Absolutely. You do have guys like Blake Buchanan down low who you can feed the ball to and he can get a bucket, but he's got his work cut out going against Floyd Badunga, Bryson Tiller. You got Joshua Jefferson who can go get you a bucket, Milan Milosevic who can go get you a bucket, but sometimes it don't look pretty for Iowa State. So while you got guys for Kansas, Darren Peterson, we know Darren Peterson, he can get you 20.5. Melvin Council, he's going to have a tough time, I believe, but he can get to the cup, maybe draw some fouls. But ultimately, I'm going Iowa State. I think Iowa State gets revenge at home. They're undefeated at home. Tough to beat at the crib. Give me Iowa State to win this ball game. Next, we got Texas A&M, man, who's kind of a little bit on the skid. Texas A&M lost to Bama. Then they lost to Florida. Then they just lost to Mizzou, I believe, on Wednesday. I want to say Tuesday, Wednesday. They lost. Mizzou hit a game winner. Rashawn Agee tried to hit a game winner at the end. He missed it. It was a layup. And Mizzou held on to beat Texas A&M. Taking on 19th ranked Vanderbilt, who is still without Duke Miles. Duke Miles, from what I've seen, is out today still. And this game is 1 o'clock on the SEC network. Texas A&M is 6.5 point road dogs in this matchup. For Texas A&M, they're led by aforementioned Rashawn Agee, averaging 13.9 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, and 1.1 steals. Ruben Dominguez averaging 11.7 points per game, and Ryland Griffin, who is probable, averaging 11.5 points per game, 1.6 steals per game. Now, I know Zach Clements had the monster game against Mizzou this past game, and it was great. It was fun to watch. But my X factor, I'm going with Pop Isaacs. Pop Isaacs is averaging 10.2 points per game off the bench, and I think against Vanderbilt, you're going to have to put up a ton of points. So I think him knocking down shots will be big in this game if Texas A&M stands a chance to beat Vanderbilt on the road. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt is led by Tyler Tanner, averaging 18.9 points per game. Also, Zach Clements is probable too, by the way. Tyler Tanner averaging 18.9 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 5.3 assists, and 2.5 steals. Tyler Nickel averaging 14.4 points per game. Dwight McLaughlin averaging 9.9 points per game and 6.8 rebounds per game. But their X factor to me is A.K. Okereke and his activity on the floor, his ability to do the dirty work. He can get to the rim. He can score. He plays defense. I think his activity on the floor is just going to be big for Vanderbilt going against this Aggie team who like to put up a bunch of points. And I'm ultimately going with Vanderbilt at home to win. Vanderbilt puts up a ton of points. They can play defense. Vanderbilt is tough to beat at home this year. Tyler Tanner is tough to keep out of the paint. He's tough. Tyler Tanner is tough to stop him from doing a lot of things he wants to do on the floor. Tyler Nichols, a knockdown shooter. Give me Vanderbilt to beat Texas A&M and continue the Texas A&M losing streak. Next, we have a battle of the top 25. We have 25th ranked Kentucky taking on 14th ranked Florida, 3 o'clock on ABC. Now, this is a battle of first place. In a sense, Florida is in first place right now. But if Kentucky can knock off Florida, I believe that will put Kentucky in first place, which a lot of people, including myself, I didn't see that coming, especially how Kentucky started. But Kentucky has a chance to move in the first place in the SEC. Now, Kentucky, they're led by Otega Owe, who's averaging 17.1 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, and 1.8 steals per game. Denzel Aberdeen, the former Florida Gator, averaging 12.3 points per game. And Malachi Marino, averaging 8.4 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Brandon Garrison again, because Florida has a ton of size. Chinelu, Alex Condon, they got size, and he's going to be big for Kentucky dealing with the size of the Florida Gators. Speaking of the Florida Gators, they're led by Alex Condon, averaging 13.3 points per game, 7.9 rebounds, 3.6 assists, and 1.5 blocks per game. Thomas Houck, averaging 17.5 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, and 1 steal per game, who's actually being considered a nominee for SEC Player of the Year. And Ruben Chinelu, averaging 11.8 points per game and 11.8 rebounds per game, and 1.1 blocks per game. The X factor to me, I think, is going to be Boogie Flan. I think Boogie's going to be big for Florida with his scoring abilities, averaging 11.4 points per game. Normally, when him and Xavier Lee can put the ball in the basket, Florida is super dangerous. And I think Boogie Flan kind of, I don't know if he figures it out, because Otega Owe and Denzel Aberdeen are two very good defensive guards. But if he can figure it out against those two defensive guards, I think it makes Florida already tougher to beat, because Florida has the size advantage, in my opinion, over Kentucky, especially with Jaden Quayton still not being available to play. And I'm ultimately going to pick Florida, man. I just tough for me to bet against this Florida team in general. So I'm taking Florida. I think this Florida team is probably the best team in the SEC. I'll take the probably off. I think this Florida team is the best team in the SEC. I think they're primed to win another SEC tournament, as well as another SEC regular championship. So give me Florida to beat Kentucky and continue its first place in the SEC. Next, we have, I think this is the battle of technically third and fourth, because Virginia and Clemson are both tied at second. But if you do the T2, and then it'll be like whatever the next number is, it's technically fourth and fifth, I guess. But either way, they're still kind of in the hunt for an ACC title. Now, Duke has to drop some games for either one of these teams to have a chance, but they're still technically in the hunt. NC State coming off a big loss to Louisville, while Miami is coming off a big win at home against UNC. Like I said, a wire-to-wire win. Miami's led by Malik Renal. Oh, my fault. NC State's 5.5-point home favorites in this one. This game is 4 o'clock on ESPN2. Now, Miami's led by Malik Renal, who's averaging 19.8 points per game and 6.6 rebounds per game. Trey Donaldson, who's averaging 15.8 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, 6.1 assists, and 1.3 steals. And True Washington averaging 11.9 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and 1.9 steals per game. And their X factor to me is going to be Shelton Henderson. He's averaging 14.4 points per game and 4.7 rebounds per game. I think his scoring and rebound is going to be big. His ability to attack the basket, putting pressure on NC State as well, is going to be big. While NC State, they're led by Darion Williams. Darion Williams is averaging 14.4 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, and 1 steal. Quadir Copeland, who's averaging 13.9 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, and 6.9 assists per game, and 1.8 steals. And Van Allen Lubin averaging 13.6 points per game, 7 rebounds per game. And their X factor to me is going to be Trey Holloman and his ability to score the ball and the toughness that he's bringing over to the Wolfpack, who's brought over to the Wolfpack all year. So that is my X factor for this game. Shout out to Zaire Rios. Appreciate you for stopping by. But my winner, I'm going with an upset here in terms of gambling. I'm going with the gambler upset. I'm taking Miami. I'm taking the Hurricanes. I think the Hurricanes showed me a lot against UNC. The Hurricanes' on-ball defensive pressure was huge. They had the ability to bow up in the paint against UNC big. So I think UNC might got the if not the best, the second best front court in the ACC. So I think that is also huge. I think they'll stymie them in the front court. I do think Darion Williams may, he may he might go off a little bit, but Trey Donaldson has the team running well. Malik Renal is a great big. I think Miami gets it done here. I think Miami gets it done on the road, and stay at pace for a possible chance at an ACC title run. So give me Miami here as 5.5-point road dogs. Next, we have Purdue, 2.5-point road favorites against Iowa. 5:00 on Fox. Purdue is ranked 13th in the country. Like I said, they're 2.5-point road favorites. Now, Iowa just took a loss to Maryland, while Purdue just stomped. I can't remember who they beat, but they beat the mess out of somebody. I can't remember who it was, but they just bullied somebody. It'll come back to me. But Purdue, anyway, they're led by Braden Smith, who's averaging 15.1 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 8.8 assists, and 1.8 steals. Trey Kaufman ran averaging 12.4 points per game, 8.8 rebounds per game, and Fletcher Lawyer averaging 13.6 points per game. Now, that X factor to me is going to be Oscar Clough, who he had a big – I can't remember who it was, but he had a big game against them, who they just last played. But I think his rebound is also going to be a factor. Iowa's not the tallest team, and he's averaging 7.5 rebounds per game. Now, Iowa's led by Bennett Sturts, who is just a bucket. He can score in any type of way. He's a guy who can score in the ISO within the offense. He's just a bucket. He's averaging 20.4 points per game, 4.9 assists, and 1.5 steals. Cam Manyow averaging 6.7 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, and Tavion Banks averaging 11 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 1 steal per game. Now, that X factor to me, and it's because of the size of Ben Jacobson and Oscar Clough, is going to be Alvaro Fogueres, and I know I butchered that. And dealing with the bigs of Purdue, he's going to be big. He got to stay out of foul trouble because Purdue, to me, has the size advantage over Iowa. But that's why I'm taking Purdue over Iowa. I think Purdue has the talent advantage. I think Purdue has the size advantage. And I think the line is kind of little here. So I'm going to take Purdue on this one to beat Iowa on the road and keep pacing the Big Ten. Next, we got a nice little Big 12 matchup. Now, I don't think either one of these teams are in play for the Big 12 title, but this still is a nice Big 12 matchup. We have West Virginia taking on UCF. Now, West Virginia is led by Honor Huff, who they took a loss to Texas Tech, I want to say over the weekend. It was not a bad loss. It wasn't a bad loss. Let me not say that. But they took a loss nonetheless. UCF, I can't remember who they last played. I know they did beat Texas Tech 1 week, not last weekend, but the weekend before that. But like I said, West Virginia is led by Honor Huff, averaging 14.4 points per game, 1 steal. Brendan Lorian averaging 11.3 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks. And Trey Eaglestaff averaging 10 points per game and 4.7 rebounds per game. Now, that X factor to me is the North Texas transfer, Jasper Floyd, who's scoring 6.8 points per game. I think he needs to elevate that a little bit going against this UCF defense. Speaking of, UCF is led by Riley Kugel, the Florida transfer, who's averaging 14.3 points per game. Demus Folks averaging 13.3 points per game, 6.8 assists, and Jordan Burks averaging 12.7 points per game and 4.1 rebounds per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Devin Cambridge and his activity around the paint. Now, I'm not saying he's a paint defender, but he can move and actively help around the paint, and that is what I think is going to be big today. I know Obanahan for West Virginia, he had a good game against Texas Tech. He had a really good game against Texas Tech, honestly, and he might also be big for West Virginia as well. But I'm going UCF. UCF is a really good defensive team. I think they could run off West Virginia from that three-point line, limit the scoring a little bit from West Virginia, even though West Virginia got some guards that can go. Limit the scoring, and they can score themselves. So I think ultimately UCF gets it done at home, where it's tough to beat this Johnny Dawkins-led coach team. Give me UCF to win this ball game. Next, we got a real big showdown, man. We got 16 Texas Tech at number 1 Arizona. This game is 6:30 on ESPN. Arizona's 9.5-point home favorites. Arizona, again, coming off the loss to Kansas. Texas Tech, they're led by JT Toppin, averaging 21.5 points per game, 10.9 rebounds, 1.3 steals, and 1.7 blocks per game. Christian Anderson, averaging 19.1 points per game, 7.7 assists, and 1.5 steals per game. And Lawan Watts, averaging 12.3 points per game and 6.3 rebounds per game. Now, that X factor to me is going to be Donovan Atwell and his ability to shoot the 3 ball. He was shooting it really good against Kansas. He's shooting 45.1% from the 3-point line. Now Arizona, they're led by freshman Koa Pete, averaging 14.3 points per game, 5.6 rebounds. Jaden Bradley averaging 13.5 points per game, 4.5 assists, and 1.9 steals. And freshman Braden Burries averaging 15.7 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, and 1.6 steals per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Monteonis Krivas with his rebounding and paint protection. He's averaging 8.6 rebounds per game and 2 blocks per game, and he's going to be big also with helping to contain JT Toppin, who is always one of the best players. Well, he's one of the best players in the Big 12 last year. He's one of the best players in the Big 12 this year. So he's going to be big to me with helping limit that. But my winner, I think, is Arizona, man. Arizona coming back home after a road loss to Kansas. I think they're going to be, if they weren't already motivated, I think they're even more motivated to have their undefeated streak ended in Lawrence, to come back home in Tucson to the home crowd, student section, Saturday. Well, I think it's around 3:30, 4:30. I don't know the time difference between here and Arizona, but still, it's prime time. Well, not prime time because it's not at night, but peak time, I would say. Peak time. And like I said, man, I think they're going to be extra motivated now that they took a loss. So give me Arizona in this matchup. Next, we have a rare non-con game. I think it's the Nashville Hoops. Nashville Hoops something. But anyway, we got Virginia, 15th ranked Virginia taking on Ohio State, 8 o'clock on Fox. Is it 8:30? I got 8 here and I got 8:30 on here. Let me just double check that. But anyway, Virginia only have 3 losses on the year. Great year under first-year head coach for them, Ryan Odom. He's done a great job there. They're 10-2 in conference. They're, like I said, 21-3. I can't remember their one non-conference loss, to be honest with you. They play at 8, so I wrote it wrong here. They play at 8 o'clock. Let me fix that. Boom. All right, that's done. Let me actually look and see what a non-con loss was, because I don't remember who it was. Butler. Funny enough, their only conference non-con loss was Butler, which is actually crazy. But Virginia's been playing well. Ohio State, they're coming off a win against USC at home. 7-point win there. Ohio State's not a bad team, to be honest with you. But Virginia, they're led by Theus DeRitter, averaging 16.1 points per game, 6.6 rebounds. Malik Thomas averaging 12.2 points per game and 4 rebounds. And Sam Lewis averaging 10.6 points per game and 3.7 rebounds. Now, the X factor to me is going to be Jakari White and his 3-point shooting ability. He's shooting at 44.6% from the 3-point line. Ohio State, they're led by Bruce Thornton, who's averaging 19.3 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 1.2 steals. John Mobley averaging 15.1 points per game. Devin Royal averaging 14 points per game and 5.7 rebounds per game. And I told you I like this freshman, man. He's my X factor for them. Amari Bynum. He's my X factor with his scoring ability, averaging 9.2 points per game. I think he's going to be big down low for the Ohio State Buckeyes with his activity as well. But ultimately, I have UVA winning, man. UVA is a team that can score in bunches, and they don't mind playing a little defense. So I'm going to take UVA here. Ohio State does have they got some scores too. Like I said, Bruce Thornton and John Mobley are guys who don't need the offense to create their own buckets. But I do think at times Ohio State does have scoring droughts that could hurt them against this UVA team. So I'm going to take UVA in this one against Ohio State. And the last game I have for y'all, I always got to give y'all a mid-major game, man. This is the battle for first place in the WCC. Santa Clara is looking to take revenge over Gonzaga. Gonzaga beat them at home last time they played. Now, I will say Gonzaga was pretty tamed, except for Graham Ike, who went for like 34 points and 11 rebounds against Santa Clara. Absolutely dominated. But now he's without his guy in the front court, Braden Huff. He's still out. So that is big for Gonzaga. And Gonzaga, yes, they bounced back the last 2 games against Washington State and Oregon State, but beyond them two, they have not been looking great as of late. Santa Clara, their only loss is said Gonzaga game. They've been looking really great through this WCC schedule. They just had the one loss against Gonzaga, which ain't a slip-up and ain't a bad thing. Gonzaga is still a dominant WCC team. But we'll start with 12th ranked Gonzaga, who's 4.5-point road favorites in this matchup. They're led by, like I said, Graham Ike, who had the 30-point explosion, who's averaging 19.7 points per game, 8.5 rebounds. Tyon Grant Foster averaging 11 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks. And Braden Smith averaging 5.8 points per game, 4.2 assists, and 1.2 steals. Now, my X factor is going to be Mario Saint-Superi, scoring off the bench, averaging 8.6 points per game off the bench, because they're going to have to get scoring from somebody I don't see Graham Ike having a monster game without Braden Huff in the front court with him. So somebody's going to have to put up some points. Now, Santa Clara, they're led by Christian Hammond, averaging 16.4 points per game, 1.3 steals. Elijah Mahi, averaging 13.8 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, and 1.4 steals. And Allen Graves, averaging 11.3 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 2.1 steals per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Bucky Oboye. He has to deal and help with dealing with Graham Ike. Again, there is no Braden Huff. So they have to put their main focus on Graham Ike. And with that being said, I think Santa Clara as 4.5-point dogs get their revenge and take control of the WCC regular season title and beat Gonzaga. Like I said, beyond Oregon State and Washington State, Gonzaga hasn't looked great, and especially on the road. Now you're going on the road against a really good WCC team in Santa Clara who's been looking really good. They play really good defense. They can run. They can get in transition. They could play at their own pace. So I have Santa Clara in this matchup, man. I really do. Would I be surprised if Gonzaga win? Obviously not. But I just think Santa Clara gets them at home this time with no Braden Huff. So give me Santa Clara to win this matchup. And that's all 10 games I got for y'all today. We got about 20, 30 minutes till I'll say 25, 30 minutes until tip off for the 12 o'clock games. So please enjoy those. Just got to do a little house cleaning. So appreciate everybody that stopped by, everybody that, left a comment. We are a network, so we do have shows on the network. And the first show I'm going to mention is the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave. They go live Mondays and Thursdays between 7 to about 8:30ish. So make sure you check them out. They're now moving over to the NBA. The NFL season is now over. Next, we have Unfazed featuring Joe and AJ, who went live not yesterday, Thursday. They went live Thursday, so make sure you check that episode out. They went over Super Bowl, some NBA stuff, but ultimately, I think they're moving over to the NBA as well. So make sure you check them out. We have BWT, Baseball with Teddy. World Baseball Classic starts next month, so make sure y'all check out Teddy for all that. And the MLB season starts next month, so make sure you definitely tune in for that. FFC, Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. Fantasy football season is now over, but just stay tuned for whatever content he has planned for y'all. Dave's Doghouse, highlights and lowlights of sport. RBO, Real Ballers Only, featuring Vaughn, NBA content. Stay tuned to that. And we have In the Red Corner featuring Tomo, Ricky, and Ty. Boxing episode. They don't go live every Sunday, but when they do go live, it is on Sundays around 6:30, 7 o'clock. So for all your boxing needs, check out In the Red Corner. And that's all the shows we have on the network. Oh, we got Zero Sports Talk with Griffey. Don't know what consistent schedule that is. Just make sure when you tune in, just tune in when you catch that. I think he's doing a bevy of sports. I think he's doing NBA, soccer, things like that. Just it's a new show, so tune in. But that's all the shows we have for y'all on the network. That's all I have for y'all today. Like, comment, share, subscribe to my show as well as theirs. If you like what you're listening to, stick with us. But enjoy y'all Saturday. Enjoy y'all Valentine's Day. But I'm gone. I will see y'all tomorrow to wrap up this week in college basketball. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.